Hello and welcome everyone to a special episode of the Cultured Nerd Podcast. This week we're doing something different with episode 9. Instead of talking about whatever's crazy happening in the world, we've decided just to you know, uh just talk to you guys and introduce ourselves and do a long-awaited meet and greet because one thing that I didn't do when we all started this network was have you all start and do a big introduction episode. So we're going to sit down with y'all. We're going to have all the hosts from all of our shows come in, answer questions. Hopefully, y'all can enjoy it with us. But here we go. Thank you, and let us begin. Hello, everyone. So let's start bringing people in one by one. So here is my co-host, Michael. You know him already from watching our show since we launched this season and last season, and the show entirely. Actually, I think you've been with me the entire time. So let's start getting down the line. We got Jason Carmona. He is our host for the Cultured Gamer. His co-host is not ready yet, but for the time being, he will cycle in whoever is free on the day he records. So hopefully someone from this wonderful panel will be able to join him this week because I got pediatric appointments this Thursday. So hopefully you got somebody. So let's bring in through the Monocle team. We got the Grants. We got Grant Ingram and Grant Skillen.
Hello.
Hello.
You guys around. And then through from the Cultured Pull List, we got Mike and Luke. And this
Hey, everyone.
Hey. Let's move you all around. There we go. So here we are. Like I wanted to kind of just do this big live show and get everyone in a room essentially and just talk and introduce yourselves and kind of give your backgrounds because everyone who's seen the show knows who I am. Obviously, I'm Taylor Murphy, the guy who started the Cultured Nerd back in 2013, and nothing has really changed for me. I mean, aside from the fact that I have kids now. So, but with the podcast, people who have been watching for a long time already know my background. I'm originally from San Diego. I grew up North County, San Diego, with Michael as my neighbor. My family, my aunt married into the Dietz family. So Dickie Dietz and Richard Dietz and all the big Dietz in Hollywood. They've done projects from 20th Century Fox to Warner Brothers to everything in between. So that big family is my family, and I've got connections through them. But that's about it for me, everyone. So kind of just go through the line. Michael, they know that you grew up with me, and they know that you went to college after we finished high school. But tell us a little bit about yourself.
I mean, it's such a weird way. It's like, where do I jump in at? Like, do I just pimp myself or do I talk about like the traumas in my life? I mean, they're all combined in the same. My parents went on a world adventure when like right out of high school that I did not go with them on. So I had to like get a job. So I worked at Blockbuster for 1,000,000 years. I closed a ton of stores. I closed one store, closed another store. It's California, so you fail upwards. So I started in San Diego. I've now made it to Los Angeles. I do improv. I do other podcasts. I play video games. I feel like, I touch upon everything that is here. I'm excited to pick everybody's brains. This is the content and stories that we use in our lives. And it's such a great medium. And I'm so happy that this collection of people is gathered that is talking about these things in an elevated way, whichever that may be, even if it's just, nerddom and geekdom. I'm so happy to get everybody in the same room.
Awesome. Well, I mean, aside from you working at Blockbuster the entirety of teenage years into early adulthood, do you remember that one time? And you might remember it. I'm not sure if you do. You were working at Blockbuster. I think it was right before you brought Chad in with you. And
I did not hire that guy.
Yeah, well, he was there after you went to the other one. But
yeah,
you were there, and we were doing our nightly renting of movies, and I think we both. I think it was you that was there with me. I'm really sure it wasn't Chad because he would have kind of made the situation weird. But we had this guy that walked in with his friend, and he was looking very like "don't look at me" kind of a thing. He was being all inconspicuous, and it was that singer Jason Mraz.
Not
You
me.
remember that at all? Wasn't you? Okay.
I heard the tale of Jason Mraz was in the Southern California area renting at different Blockbusters. Now they had seen him at 0651, but that he was also down at 078. So yeah, I knew of Jason Mraz. I was not there for Jason Mraz. It could have been someone else in the crew.
No, it might have been one of the others. I was there, and I think it might have been Chad. Actually, it was probably one of those days I had him break the street date and sell me a movie early. But I remember him coming in, and years later, I'm like, that could have been him. But I googled it and found out that he actually had bought like an avocado farm in Oceanside, and that's why he was nearby. So it was like, oh, okay, so it really was him. Weird. Anyway, so let's go to Jason. Tell us a little about yourself, what you do, and what's your deal.
Yeah, so working in the video game journalism space for about now I don't have a logo on top of my head. Okay, working in the in the video game journalism space for over a decade. Before that, I tried to live the dream and tried to get into the industry as hard as I could. Managed an arcade, managed a software, etc. at South Coast Plaza. It's a big time cushy mall out here in Orange County, California. And from there, got a job at Sony, wrote some seminars, public and private, talking about a lot of PlayStation, Robotic Dog, Aibo. And then from there, kind of went the independent route. Took advantage of some time I spent at Cal State Fullerton, and entered the gaming journalism space, like I mentioned, for about a decade. So yeah, just trying to stay afloat.
What were the hot games at the arcade when you were running the arcade?
Oh man, so this was probably like in the early 2000s. So this was like right at the peak of all the Capcom fighting games. You had Marvel vs. Capcom 2, and it was just the end of the arcade era, because once PS2 hit, you can get the arcade experience at home. So it kind of killed off the arcade after that.
Where was the DDR machine?
The DDR machine was right in front of the pizza station. Right next to the entrance, so people can see people wiling out at the front door and be like, wow.
Taylor, make me big. Taylor, make me big. Taylor, make me big. Taylor, make me big. In our high school years, the local, it was Rocky and Bullwinkle's. Then it became a family fun center. And then by high school, it got bought again. It became a Boomers. They had $10 Tuesdays. For $10, the whole arcade was on free play. And that's where I got addicted to DDR. And It was a pretty bad addiction. And it lasted, I don't know, maybe 2 years or so. We went a lot. But
no, it didn't last 2 years, Michael. That is being overly generous. We started in middle school in like eighth grade. And it carried us all the way through to like senior year, when I finally was like, guys, we don't have time for this anymore.
Okay, great. So it was a 6-year addiction. It was really bad, you guys.
It went on a long time.
But we spent a lot of times in arcades because of that. So arcades have a big spot in my heart. They don't exist for too much longer, but anytime they are there, they bring a tear to my eye.
I remember when I was younger, we had a pizza parlor that was that was right next to
I know.
Switch.
I'm trying to respond.
There we go. So we had a pizza gallery that was close to our junior middle high school. So they had Snow Brothers that was set on unlimited play. So we were there at the bell rung every day trying to smash Snow Brothers. And yeah, it was good times. I miss those days. Where do the arcades go, man? You have round one nowadays, but I mean, besides that, what do you have?
It's such a funny situation, because I remember Michael and I used to do this every Tuesday, and we did our driver's ed together. So your mom stopped taking us, and that was really great when we had that freedom. when we got your car, we got Rhonda. That was her name. You named your car Rhonda. Because it was the early 2000s. We all had that Fast and the Furious vibe where you get not Fast and Furious. It was gone in 60 seconds. You get a car, you have to give it a girl name. And you had this ugly brown car, and we named it Rhonda because that was the ugliest name you could think of.
It was in 1992, Mercury Sable, and yes, I have no fond memories of that car, but I drove it for a long time.
I have fond memories of the fact that it was like sitting on a couch in your car. Like the car was ridiculous, but it was like two couches were in your car, front and back, just two couch benches. It was really comfortable. And then I got my car and I named her Barbara after Batgirl because that's just of course for me. But when where was I going with this?
Well, the car eventually was shot to death and then would give Taylor directions like GPS in his ears. It was very sad what happened to that car.
Yeah. So we went to $10 Tuesday every week and we played DDR nonstop. And you used to tease me because I was not very coordinated.
And then you would get tired of DDR, and then you would get sweaty and physically tired. Your body would shut down. So then you would go sit on Arctic Thunder because it would vibrate and blow cold air in your face.
That wasn't actually me, but I actually went over to like the Marvel vs. Capcom machine a lot, and I played those ones a lot. But I think it was like Alex or Sean, the one that got really like, because Alex and Sean like went nuts and had their routines and would dance over the DDR bar and stuff like that. And they burned themselves out. So they went to the arcade machines that had like the vents on them to cool them.
I can't believe you wouldn't tell them that I did all those same fucking dances. I can't believe that I wasn't a part of that. I absolutely know how to hop over the bar. I'd hurt my knees.
You did them too. When they were on their rolls, I would just let them do their thing and we would just move on after they were done. So,
you know what, Taylor? We should move on. Let's talk to the grants.
All right, let's bring up some of the grants. These are the grants from the Through the Monocle show. So let's start with.
Not me.
No. There's three of us now.
Tell us a little bit about yourself and what the show is for you and what you plan to do with it coming up and everything in between.
So I am like really young. I don't remember the arcade. I'm gonna be honest. It was not a part of my life. I was PS2 all the way. I'm in college, which kind of sucks. But if you can't tell by the bare walls, that college. So I play a lot of baseball. That's what I do. And then when I'm not playing baseball, I'm either playing video games or watching TV.
Playing video games with me.
Yes.
What is your current game?
Destiny 2.
Destiny 2. In fact, I was playing Destiny 2 until about 20 minutes ago when I hopped on to do the show.
Yeah, that's why I was late.
TCN does have a clan, and it's not very active. So if you guys aren't clanned, you should join our clan.
And we are unfortunately clanned.
They play every day. They've been in a clan since day one.
Well, I was in a clan since day one, but they weren't part of this TCN family in day one. So.
Yeah. So my journey into podcasting, for like my 18th birthday or 17th birthday, I got a microphone, which, all good parents should buy their kids microphones. And being an irresponsible teenager. In
teenage years, not in childhood.
Being an irresponsible teenager, I decided that the best thing I could do with my life was to broadcast all my thoughts onto the internet. So I started a podcast called Much Talk About Nothing, Peep the Merch, and then recruited this other guy, Grant, to do it with me. We were blessed, got lucky, had to grow. So I made an Instagram bot. It happened to follow a guy that knew Kevin Altieri. And from there, everything just kind of rolled along to where we are now, which is Through the Monocle for the Culture Nerd Podcast Network, which, ta-da. I
what is your major?
Oh, I'm a computer science major. That's what I do. But really baseball. I'm sorry?
What in particular? Computer science is a pretty brag.
Well, I mean, I'm at a community college, so that's about as specific as they get. I'd like to go into game development. I'm trying to get an internship at Bungie over the summer. That's my real goal.
Bungie's in my backyard, so if you do end up getting an internship and they move you over here, let me know.
Yeah, I'll be in Seattle this summer. Actually, that got finalized today. Yeah, but yeah, that's where we're at. I'll let Grant tell you about Through the Monocle.
All right, other Grant, come on up.
Hello, my name is Grant, if you haven't heard that before. I grew up in Alabama, moved to St. Augustine, Florida for about 7 years, and then my family moved back recently. I'm also a college student. My major is business, so also pretty generic. My journey into podcasting was Grant was like, "Hey, I have a podcast. Do you want to do an episode with me?" And then we talked about Hamilton for an hour through my AirPods mic. And then he was like, "Hey, I think we should keep doing this." And then we've done, I think, over 100 episodes on that now. And then excited
don't sell
to do
yourself
through
short. That's how it starts. You talk to someone about Hamilton for an hour in earbuds, and then you're like, "Oh, I should sound better." And then you get a little bit more and a little bit more.
Yep.
That's how it starts.
These AirPods right here. Horrible audio quality. That's still out there somewhere if someone wants to find it. Yeah, so a little bit about Through the Monocle. We talk about older, depends on, not, I wouldn't say old, but older movies and TV shows. We generally, anything that's about 5 years old or older. We're not doing Marvel because it's Marvel.
Fair enough.
Tomorrow, if I can do a little promo, tomorrow we are releasing an episode about The Office. I think we're going to do that live, Grant. Yes?
We are going to do that live. Yes.
For everyone
about
who
it?
wanted to know why I did that poll on Twitter and Instagram, it was 100% to give you guys the 3 most requested episodes, and I'm pretty sure you got some pretty great ones.
Yes. It's a little unfeasible to watch the entire series just to do one episode on, so we decided we'd do 3 fan favorite episodes and watch them and review them.
Yeah.
Nice.
I just watched all of The Office not too long ago. You watch it crest like a wave and the surfer, and it's so good for so long. And then it's not good, but you're so invested in everybody that those stories carry through. Jokes are good, but it's crazy to see a show have such a big influx. I also recently watched News Radio, which also has a huge influx, but that is because sadly the star of the show was murdered. And that show stumbled.
Whoa.
You don't understand the story about News Radio was a 90s show. It was an amazing show. Phil Hartman was the lead, and he was, for everyone who doesn't know who Phil Hartman is, I'm sorry, he's a fantastic actor. So Google him.
Fantastic
Find some
comedian.
movies.
Comedy genius, was part of was early Pee Wee Herman stuff as Captain Carl. He
Saturday
did
Night Live.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely.
He was murdered shortly before the release of that movie, Small Soldiers. So they dedicated that movie to him.
Oh,
I thought he was saying the main character got murdered in the series, not that the...
No.
Sadly, and then the show just, the show continues on with everybody else, but it never makes it.
It's
never
not the same.
It never recovers from that talent. Which, funny enough, if we're talking about TV, Cheers replaced like everybody,
Yeah.
and Cheers is just as good.
It's better. I'm watching it right now, and it gets better towards the end.
It's
good.
like a basketball team. Woody Harrelson is the MVP. He just comes in out of nowhere and just nails every shot.
Well,
Yeah, just like his dad, actually.
it reminded me a lot of like when we were in high school when John Ritter died, and he had died while they were filming an episode of 8 Simple Rules. He had a heart attack on set. And when that show did very well, and then he passed away, then they brought in like his brother or cousin or some character they wrote in. They brought the character in, and it just didn't work. And I think it only lasted like a season after that. So sometimes it does work, sometimes it really doesn't. So it's very hard.
And full circle to The Office, Steve Carell left for a while, and they were going pretty strong. You know what I mean? I think John Krasinski deciding he wants to go be Alfred Hitchcock is what, eventually led to the end of that show. But I mean, it could have kept going.
So as on the topic of The Office, when Michael Scott left, I actually stopped watching it live, and I was like, I'm done. And then I tuned in for the finale, and the finale was fantastic. And I'm like, okay, maybe I should go back and watch this. Like Michael said, it wasn't as good, it was still pretty funny. There's some really great gags in those last couple seasons, but yeah, Michael Scott was the heart and soul, and when he left, they had to replace it, and it just didn't quite have that same vibe anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can't replace Steve Carell. Like it's just how it is.
Well, they teased us. Like, you go back to that episode where they're doing all the office managers. Like, I don't know. I think that Everyone Lives Raymond guy could have got that show 5 more seasons. I think, you know what I mean? Like, if Jim Carrey would have been a crazy boss for a season, I don't know. We didn't get that show. We got Robert California.
The Lizard. I got a buddy who has a
really great moments out of that character, but when he left, and they complicated a lot when his character was in play, so it got weird. Bringing in Kathy Bates and all that stuff, I was like, I don't know how I feel about this. Wasn't as funny as it could have been. Like, they had all the right pieces, but it just wasn't working.
Yeah. I've got a buddy that's got a lizard that he bought a couple years ago and named Robert California, just because it's the same guy.
For the record, that is not me. Just
his name's not Grant.
You know who else isn't named Grant? That's Luke and the other Michael.
All right, let's bring you guys up. Let's bring in Michael first.
Alrighty. So funny, you guys seem to kind of live on the West Coast, most of you, because I was actually born and grew up for a bit in Canoga Park, California, a little outside of LA. Moved to East Michigan when I was about 8 years old because my dad got a job out here, and so pretty much like all through high school lived there. Actually, in high school, I did join I was part of Boy Scouts for most of high school. And I ended up joining a special like service honor guard troop that went up to Mackinac Island every year and served in the fort there. And that's actually where I met Luke. We met there, and I think I only went up for like 2 years, but both those years Luke was there, so we became friends there.
Both of you were elite Ranger Boy Scouts? You took Boy Scouts to the top of the game.
I'll say I am also an Eagle Scout.
Yes.
So
Nice,
yes.
Same.
All
Yeah,
right,
we're
Michael,
Eagle Scouts
Michael
as
has
well.
no room to make fun of Boy Scouts because I was a Boy Scout and you went on every camping trip with me.
I was not a Boy Scout, but through the grace of God and the Mormon religion, I went on lots of Boy Scout trips. You make the eggs in the bag, you boil the water, we'd stay up eating ding dongs all night. It was great. I have nothing but great experience with being a Boy Scout because I got to just camp and do none of the. You guys have to do paperwork and you see a judge and you gotta, you know what I mean? I didn't do any of that stuff.
Oh yeah.
That's actually why I never got my Eagle, is I did all the work for it, but I didn't want to sit down and do the paperwork. So I'm like, I'm good.
Shame. Sure.
Yeah. No, that was definitely a bear for sure. But so then I ended up going to college out in Grand Rapids, Michigan. And that's actually when I started doing like podcasting type stuff. I started doing some YouTube stuff first because I really had no idea how to distribute a podcast or anything like that. And I swear this isn't an ad, but my friend told me about Anchor. And so I started using Anchor and had my own podcast for a while. And Luke had his own thing going too. So we would kind of guest on each other's podcast and whatnot and YouTube. And eventually I'm pretty sure it was kind of like in the middle of the pandemic and everything, but Luke had the idea to kind of combine our two channels and podcasts and everything. So we ended up doing that. So we have our own thing now, Casual Experts. And that's what I started doing, like comic book type, media stuff on my Instagram, like back in 2013. And that was kind of like my main thing for a while. But now we've got our podcast, YouTube channel, all that stuff. And now we have this show, The Cultured Pull List, where we're talking about comic books, all that fun stuff. Lots of trade paperbacks is what we're doing now, actually, is going through all the trade paperbacks that James Gunn mentioned. The DCU is going to be based on going forward, at least, loosely based on. So we're going through all those, and we're on All-Star Superman now. And it's been a lot of fun. I haven't really
Yeah.
been able to talk too much about comic books with many people, so it's a really cool outlet to be able to do that. Oh, there you go. Nice.
There it
nice.
is.
It's such a good book. I've
Yeah.
talked about it so much leading into your guys' show. Now that this week you guys are going to be going over the second half,
Yeah.
my question is
Mm.
regarding the final page.
hmm
Did you prefer the animated change, or did you prefer the book did it?
I'll be honest, I have not 100% finished it yet. So
Ooh, okay.
Yeah.
So once you finish it, go
Okay.
on to HBO Max, watch the animated as
Yeah.
well. It's very good,
Okay.
but there is a very big deviation on that last page.
The very end. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No.
I watched it like years ago. I kind of remember something like with the sun or something, but I don't really remember all of it. So yeah.
So
I'll
once you
have
get
to
to
do
it,
that.
just go watch it. You'll see the deviation. But I
All right.
kind of prefer the animated deviation,
Okay.
not because of I loved the book,
Mhm.
but I thought the animated deviation was a bit more impactful because what it did.
Gotcha.
It was more of a
Yeah.
I almost destroyed the world. This is the least I could do to fix my sins. It was a really
Gotcha.
cool
Mhm.
moment.
Okay.
So
I do have a question for you. Do you know why it took like 2 or 3 years for all 12 issues to come out? Because I was looking it up and like I couldn't find any reason for it because but it seemed like it took a while for like all the issues to come out.
You can't rush genius.
Okay,
no.
fair enough.
The actual answer was during the time of the All-Star launch. That
Mhm.
came about around the time of the New 52, I believe, is when they first started putting it out.
Yeah.
And it was initially debuting as the DC answer to Marvel's Ultimate Comics, and then it turned it into not being that at all.
Right. Okay.
Which I actually liked what they did instead, because
Yeah.
with All-Star Batman and Robin, it was like, wow, this is weird, and then it turned into this is actually just a prequel to The Dark Knight Returns.
Mm,
So,
okay.
and then with All-Star Superman, it was meant to just be like a standalone,
Right.
just book. But the reality was that both of them were heavily delayed. I remember buying issues 1, 2, and 3 of All-Star Batman, and then having to wait 6 months for number 4, and then another 6 months for number 5. It was because the creative team behind each of the books had like 5 other books going at the same time.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Gotcha.
when Grant Morrison was doing All-Star Superman, he was also doing his Batman runs. So
that makes sense.
It was just crazy workloads, and apparently during that time of DC, there was only 5 creators that did everything. So it was
jeez, yikes.
It was insane. But like All-Star Batman and Robin, it was actually Jim Lee and Frank Miller. So
gotcha.
Frank Miller wrote everything ahead of time, but Jim Lee was doing like he was doing Justice League, he was doing so many other books at the same time, and then he was also kind of being quietly groomed to take over DC. So it got really, really busy for him.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think technically All-Star Batman and Robin is still unfinished, although they're not probably ever going to return to it.
Yeah, they finished the first arc, and then they started a second one and never finished the second arc.
Oh, that sucks.
But yeah, at least we all will forever have that line, "I'm the goddamn Batman." We'll have that.
Yeah. Classic.
And then lastly, let's bring you up, Luke, because Oh, and lastly, Michael, what is your major in school?
Well, I actually graduated in 2021. So my major, so I started out pre-med. I graduated the pre-physician's assistant program, and now I'm more like I'm a lab technician right now. So I'm more like I'm staying in the science field. I'm kind of shying away from the medical stuff.
Did COVID ruin it for you too? Because it ruined it for me.
Yeah, kind of. I had this like terrible CNA job, and then I had another like job in orthopedics office, and I was like, no, I'm not sure I'm really cut out for this anymore.
It's funny because Michael knew this about me. I actually started when I first moved up to Washington. One of the first jobs I got, I got like the day I moved here, I got a job at Toys R Us, and it was beautiful. It was wonderful.
Nice.
I had so much fun. And then after, was that?
Rest in peace.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I'm so sad. It's like there's like an open wound with the old Toys R Us.
End of an era.
You see the outline of the logo.
I didn't know that you worked at Toys R Us. Did you take any money home, or did you just spend the entire paycheck? How long did you work there for?
Michael, I spent the entire paycheck coming to visit you after I came back.
I remember that. I remember you visiting me.
And then that's when I didn't have the job anymore because I came back and during the time I was on my vacation, they changed management, and the managers were like, "We have to downsize. We have too many employees, anyways." So I was just like, "All right, well then I'll just leave." Then I became a CNA, and then I went to school for pre-nursing so I could get a ARNP. And then during applying for nursing school and going through all of that and getting all my clinical stuff ready, COVID hit. COVID ruined the medical field for me. I realized that too many people think they know the science and don't know the science, and I got really fed up with politicians and laymen's telling me what the science was when I actually understood the science, and I'm like, that's not what this means. You're an idiot. There's a thing called herd immunity, and we're never going to get it. Because
Taylor, people don't care about science. Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, so I got really annoyed with it, and then I decided to say to hell with it, and then now I'm going for a computer sciences degree, and
Nice.
My GPA so far is like a 3.9 compared to
Sick.
my 3.4 nursing degree.
It's not a 4, come on, Taylor.
I'm not laughing at it. I like that you wanted to share your GPA with everybody. I'm very proud of you.
I'm just saying, I should have done this computer sciences from the beginning because clearly that was my calling because the nursing stuff was very struggling. I could not memorize the human anatomy for the life of me. I knew everything else, but mapping the human body.
Yeah, it's rough.
Muscles and the nerves. Fuck that diagram.
I will say, when we're bragging about our GPAs, I've got like that 3.13 going here.
Nice. Nice.
College felt like a checklist because all the classes I wanted to take, I was take, but then it was like, oh, you got to take another year of Spanish. You got to take. I had to take I think I had to take a science class. I took linguistics, which was like your mouth. Failed that class. Like, stopped going week 1. I was like, no, thank you. And then it was some statistics class I forgot to drop, and I failed that one. But then I took it was a philosophy science class because it was like logic, which is basically like programming 101. Like, this is programming on paper that eventually we put into computers. And I was like, oh, okay. That I enjoyed. But, college and stuff like that, you all have a voice and a passion. I am glad that you have enough of a schedule so you can continue doing those things. You should finish those commitments, but I'm glad that you're also pursuing all of these things and, the things that, make your soul sing.
Right. And then before we get into the Q&As, because after I said, hey, do you have any questions?
Yeah, then a bunch
questions.
And then I have questions. Yeah,
Luke,
go
tell
Luke.
us about yourself.
Hey everyone, my name's Luke. I was born in Illinois, kind of moved around a whole lot for my dad's work, finally ended up in Eastern Michigan. I've just been a big fan of movies, comics, television shows. And then in 2020, I'll go back. I started YouTube in 2017. And and so I started just kind of, it wasn't really like a schedule or a regular thing. I would just throw up videos whenever I felt like it. And then in 2020, there wasn't a whole lot happening. So I really got into books. And so I actually published 2 of my own books. So that's pretty cool. And then, around that same time, because Mike was big on Instagram and he had a podcast, and I was big on YouTube, and I was like, hey, why don't we put our things together? And so that was how when we kind of merged. And and then just this past year, I started attending film school in Grand Rapids. So yeah.
Now, why didn't you share about your years as an elite Boy Scout? Why did you have to? Why did you not share any of that information?
Well, Mike already told you about it.
Yeah.
It's fun watching Taylor play Tetris with all of our pictures and moving us around.
It's fun. So the first question that we had pop up was from Fatal J. He's been on the show a few times with us. You guys seen the James Gunn share pic of Justice League New Frontier? If he's going to go that route for jail, he's making a smart move. Golden Age DC. Who here has read New Frontier? Other than me.
I think I have.
I think I saw the cartoon.
You're all hurting me. You're all hurting me. New Frontier. Let me just grab the books.
That's the Golden Age one, right? The one that's based like in the 40s, 50s.
I think HBO Max has a cartoon of it. I'm pretty sure I saw
Yeah,
read that one.
I've seen the animated movie
read that
like
one.
years
DC
ago.
New Frontier was actually from the late Darwin Cook. And this book came out. It's not. Everyone says it's like super old, but it's really not. It was made to look old, and that's what was so fun about it. It's like 2004, 2005, I think, is when it came out. So, yeah, I guess it's a little old now.
Yeah, that's old.
But it was meant to be like golden age retellings, but kind of with a modern-ish twist in terms of like the storytelling elements. But it incorporated literally every hero.
It feels like they're trying to get away from these insane bodies that go in these Marvel movies, because all the actors afterwards go, "Oh, I hated it. I hated the routine. I hated it." If you get people that look like real, like Wonder Woman in that picture does not look like Gal Gadot. It looks like a regular woman. She's got some, beefy arm, right? You can get other people to play these people and, play them for a long time, because they're going to be playing them for a long time.
Right. One of the things that was really cool about Wonder Woman's whole story arc in this was that it was during like Vietnam, and she actually like freed a camp of women and then like beheaded all the men that were using the women.
Oh yeah.
Good old Wonder Woman. But the book is fantastic. But the big story behind this book is actually the usage of it's kind of almost like a MacGuffin kind of villain, which was called the Center. This villain was essentially like the best way I'll just describe it via what it's defined as. The Center is a primordial entity that seeks to end all life on Earth. The entity known as the Center was born on primordial Earth, lived for millions of years, watching life grow on the planet. When an asteroid wiped out all prehistoric life, the Center quickly recused all that survived and relocated them and itself in basically the Pacific Ocean. So basically this like dinosaurial like symbiote thing just connects everything. And the Center would actually psychically take over every entity on the planet. Like it was part of the book where it actually was staging like a robbery with Captain Cold, and then that's when the Center first speaks to the Flash. He actually speaks through Captain Cold. It was a very cool, very unique take on it. And the long story short was that Hal Jordan was front and had to be the one to defeat the Center with the Green Lantern ring. So this book was actually like, I always love how it's DC The New Frontier, but it is a Justice League story that has Hal Jordan as like the main character essentially. So
That's interesting.
I would love if he did adapt some aspects of this, because it's very cool. Next question that popped up: what do y'all think of Brendan Thwaites as Nightwing in the Teen Titans show as Dick Grayson and Nightwing? Any of you all watch Titans?
Yeah, I know me and Luke do. Yeah.
What do y'all think of the lead of Dick Grayson?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big fan of the Titans comics, and so I know it's not a great show as far as writing, but just seeing a lot of these characters that I love on screen is really, really cool. And I think Brendan in particular does a good job as Dick Grayson, in my opinion.
Yeah, I feel like the show's sort of in this like intermediate space of like the CW and like, like Daredevil and the Punisher, like the really good ones. It's sort of like not as bad as CW, but not, but
right in the middle.
Yeah, exactly.
Does it feel like Power Rangers?
No, it's not. No, definitely not, because it's definitely a lot darker, and it's not. I mean, depending on the era of Power Rangers, it's definitely like not as. I mean, it's
nothing like Power Rangers I've ever seen. But
yeah, so I don't know. Maybe like that dark fan film on YouTube. I don't know.
Yeah,
but,
yeah.
But yeah, I really like Brendan Thwaites as like I think he worked really well in the show. I don't know if I necessarily want to see him as in like a movie necessarily. Like I wouldn't say he's like perfect, but I think he's pretty good and does the job pretty well. I just wish they made his hair black or something. That does throw me off sometimes. I don't know why. It's a very superficial thing, but
my only issue with Brendan as Nightwing was Nightwing's costume.
Yeah.
I didn't like the
bulky,
it
it's
looked
bulky
like
as
an armored version of like Batman and Robin or Batman Forever. Like it was really thick, and it was like this is not the gymnast Nightwing.
Yeah.
Nightwing,
right.
Like it doesn't fit. Like I just had issues with that design, and because the Robin design was so good, and then
Yeah.
So good.
the Nightwing
Well-
one wasn't.
And he's got like this cod piece that makes him look like he's got a boner all the time. It's just like really awkward to
What's
look
wrong
at
with that?
sometimes. Hey, you know, I mean, he's around Starfire a lot. I don't know, but
He's supposed to be flipping and doing
Yeah.
tricks and stuff. That's going to mess with the aerodynamics of your
yeah, like I kind of liked it at first because I just kind of got swept up of like, wow, live action Nightwing.
Right.
But now that like it's been on for like 2 whole seasons, and I'm like, yeah, it's bulky as hell. It doesn't work that well.
I will say I jumped off Titans before we got to Nightwing, mainly because they couldn't afford body paint for Starfire. But did the suit have the Nightwing nipples like it would have in
Oh
Batman?
no,
and
no,
Robin?
no, no, no.
No, okay. So we kept the cod piece, but got rid of the nipples.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let me just pull up a picture of it because I
Like it
I'm
doesn't
really
look
curious
terrible,
what this
it's
looks
just-
like.
It looks a little plasticky too, if I'm being honest.
Mhm.
that was always my issue with it is that
Yeah.
I mean but I also have just a huge laundry list of issues with that show,
Yeah, fair
Well,
enough.
Yeah, that's fair.
and
That's definitely fair. Yeah.
Now, see, in that photo, it doesn't look so bad, but when
I
you
was
actually
about to
see
say,
the
when he's
practicality,
actually-
That's not a bad photo.
there's a lot of
If-
front padding and not a lot of back padding.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
weird.
Yeah.
let me find. I
Yeah,
don't know,
you
it's
can't.
such a
You
weird.
can't have nipples because he's got space nipples, right? He looks like a future man. The chest is all armor.
Yeah.
Right, my issue was that it made him seem so bulky.
Yeah, that's
Mhm.
that's a good.
Oh,
Yeah,
God.
Yeah, that's
There's
good
a lot of,
point.
like-
yeah.
yeah.
So, I don't know. My main issue that I've always had with this show, I mean, the writing has always been kind of janky here and there,
Yeah.
but my issue was that it seemed like everybody knew that they were superheroes but didn't want to talk about it. You know, like they would walk into buildings and be like, I have credentials from Bruce Wayne and I'm going to be talking about superhero stuff. I'm like, everyone knows you're Nightwing at this point.
Yeah.
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 That's fair enough.
Like
Yeah.
it just seemed really silly that like they would go to like Gotham PD with special clearance and a bunch of teenagers, or they would go to Star Labs with special clearance
Yeah.
and it's these guys. I'm like,
Be like if
Okay.
Tony Stark shows up and it's like, yeah, we know you're Iron Man.
yeah, but it's like it'd be like if Peter Parker walked in and they're like, "Who is this kid?" I'm an intern. Like they were walking in like, "I'm supposed to be here. I'm going to be
Yeah.
talking about superhero stuff," and you're like, "Okay, I know who you are then."
Yeah.
Next question that popped up: any interest for the Flash finale?
Uh,
You mean CW Flash?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean,
So
like
you
back
laugh,
in
yeah,
the
I know.
day,
That's the one
like,
with Barry. That's the one with Barry Allen.
So I really
That's the
like
one where he
a lot of
says
the
I'm Barry
CW
Allen.
shows have two really amazing first seasons. Like
Yeah.
season 1, season 2 are always fantastic,
yeah.
and then it kind of dips off and it become very formulaic.
Mhm.
To me, the Flash lost me when Iris started declaring that we
Oh,
are the
God.
Flash.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's when I stepped off too. Yeah. No.
I was like, I can't, guys. I mean, I'm sorry, Iris, that you have to feel included in this conversation, but which one of you is getting shot at and running at the speed of light? Not
Yeah.
you.
It sounds like the answer is there's no interest.
yeah.
I don't know. I think that their decision to bring in Red Death,
Ugh,
but also changing Red Death into Batwoman was a big issue for me.
bad idea. Bad idea.
If you're not
I
going to
mean-
use Bruce Wayne, don't use any of the doppelganger Bruce Waynes.
Yeah.
I mean,
I wouldn't-
Batwoman got canceled after 2 freaking seasons, and they had a different Batwoman in each season. It's like nobody really cares. Why would you do that?
Yeah.
See, that's what I was gonna say. I wonder what the thought process was. All right, guys, this show
Yeah.
flopped. What if
Yeah.
What if we make her the
do it
villain?
again?
Right. Yeah. Oh, and that like I Am Vengeance thing that's been circulating around the internet. That clip is just so. really
Which is
cringy.
funny to me because people are like, "Oh, they're ripping off the Pattinson movie." No, they're not.
It was from
Yes,
the like
Red
the
Death-
comics
fun.
and the animated series, and yeah.
It just speaks to how good the line reading is that Pattinson did. That people
Yeah.
go, "Oh, well, it's got to be that guy." I mean, even if it's written in a book, they're like, "Oh, that but Pattinson said it. I saw it."
Right.
Right.
All right, Taylor, I've loaded up my gun. It's time for some quick fire questions. Jason, what's your Pokemon starter?
Pikachu.
Luke,
Why?
Why?
He's the first and the best. He's the one that Ash chooses. It's
Yeah,
his
it's from
his
this
go-to.
show.
Why not?
He's such a
Ash
crap
did
Pokemon,
not.
though.
Ash did not choose him. It was the only one that was left in the
Well,
lab.
that shows you how much I watch Pokemon.
Pikachu was the participation trophy of Pokemon. That's what Pikachu was.
You know what? My
He
kids
showed
are
up
all
late
into
and they gave him
Pokemon.
one anyways. That's what Pikachu was.
Luke, what's your favorite Stephen King novel?
It, no question. It's by far my favorite.
Nice.
There is that
Segue
one part at the
off
end,
and
but that we don't talk about. But the rest of it's great.
Yeah, okay. I was trying, my son was asking me if he should read it, and I'm like, no. And he's like,
Nah.
why not? I'm like, because you should just watch the movie. And he's like, why? I'm like, there's a scene.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They did it better in the movie. And he's like, what are you talking about? The whole cutting your hands and bleeding into each other, that makes that was more acceptable to me than the
Yeah, I mean, whatever you're
Close.
thinking of, it's worse. It's worse than what it's not explicit. Like the way it's written is not like whatever you're thinking is worse than it was in the book, but still the idea
I
of
know.
that happening is bizarre.
no, it's so
Yeah.
bizarre. I remember reading
Yeah.
it. I'm like, they just do what I think they're doing.
Yeah, exactly.
It is
Oh,
the one
they're
I
like 10.
haven't. It is the one I have not ventured into, but I did read all the Dark Tower and the Stand. You know what I mean? It was like
Yeah.
oh, okay, I get what Stephen King's voice is. I've lived inside his brain for a long time.
Mhm.
See, personally, with just going back to it real quick, I've always wondered, like, how the heck did he write that and go, you know what, this is the end.
He was
Like
on
this.
cocaine.
Lots of
He was- he
drugs.
was
yeah.
It was
Okay.
cocaine, and he
Yeah.
would drink a lot of booze. It was booze and cocaine. He doesn't remember writing Cujo, right?
Yeah.
Like, hasn't he said like
Yeah, he does.
he
it
like
no
right.
doubt
blacked
his mind
out
the
and
whole
woke
time.
up and he's like, I wrote
Yeah.
a story about a dog, and they were like, it's great.
Right,
Nice.
right. Yeah.
So did him and Grant Morrison write together for a while? Is that?
I like this. It was written pretty intensely. I refused to read it as an adult. Yeah, no, I mean,
Yeah.
as a kid, you're like, wow, those kids did something cool. And as an adult, you're like, oh my God, where are their parents? Why are they, out in the wild on the road? Not okay.
Mm.
Send them all to the Catholic school. Put them all in the dormitory. Like, don't let them out of your sight. Good
Grant Skillen. Behind you, I see some books. What are some of the books you have in that cubby back there?
So most of those books are either Bibles or theology books.
Oh.
Nice.
Not even the good stuff. Just the stuff real close to your head. It's the best stuff. I'm so happy you have it nearby. Then where do you keep all of your nerd supplies?
I'm not a huge reader, so I don't really have a supply of comics or other stuff. But
We did get him shipped some Lego Batarangs. That's
Yeah, I see those.
Mm.
Have you
just
thrown
not
them?
I have not. I've really wanted to throw them into my wall, but I don't think my parents would like that.
Yeah.
Mm.
I just
Oh,
3D
nice.
print a bunch of them and I throw them at my kids.
Other Michael. What are the two comic books that are framed on the wall?
Yeah. So one, I'm sorry, you probably can't hear me. Yeah. So the one in the top one, I'm trying to think. Yeah, there. That's Crisis on Infinite Earths. Crap, I forget which issue it is, but it's the one where Superman's holding Supergirl because she's dead. And then the other one is like Spider-Man, like the first issue of like this Torment storyline. Like I think it's back in like the late 80s, early 90s.
You mean Crisis number 7? Right?
Yes. Yep. 7.
Okay. Yeah, that was a cool one.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I found that at Comic-Con and I was like, oh, hell yeah, I'm picking that up.
All right, who have you not asked a question to, Michael?
I know why Grant Ingram doesn't have anything on his walls. He has now told us. Seeing that you travel a lot, what nerd things do you bring with you?
so. Mainly, I've got some trade paperbacks I carry around. I love my local library from where I'm at. We've got a bunch of I'm reading the Howard the Duck omnibus from Steve Gerber way back when. I am now a massive Howard the Duck fan.
Yeah, let's shout out the Libby app. If you have a library, you can get an app. You can get a ton of comic books and stuff on your phone. And it's a great way to read stuff, especially if you are Like, I want to read comic books, but I don't know where to start. Read books. Go read some comic books.
I mean, that's how I got into it. I didn't start buying them until I decided I wasn't going to read anymore.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it. I've got a computer loaded up with a bunch of movies, but my nerd stuff stays at home with all my Funko Pops and everything.
Yeah.
Do you buy them there and then send them home and say, put this in my room, don't touch it?
I should. I don't, because I don't have money.
Sure.
Yeah.
College student troubles.
Yep.
Yeah.
Grinding it. Eventually, it's almost over. I mean, if I don't know, I said almost over. How much school does everyone have left?
I just started.
Yeah, I just started. I still got 3 years.
Nice. I'm gonna go to grad school soon, so yeah, at least another couple of years.
Well, I'm sure part of our audience is much like all of you. How do you balance podcasting and doing all of your other responsibilities?
Well, I podcast. The rest of it doesn't get done.
Yeah,
Procrastination.
I wait till the last second, then grind like hell for
exactly.
3 hours.
Right.
There's no better motivator than time.
Yeah, right.
Or lack of it.
Right.
Exactly.
Who is staying up tonight to watch The Mandalorian?
Oh.
Till midnight, or is it 9:00?
Midnight.
No.
Wait, the
I
Mandalorian's
gotta-
back?
Yep.
Tonight, yeah,
You
midnight.
didn't know that?
No.
March 1st.
Okay. See, for some reason, it feels like mid-December.
Yeah.
Wait, we're in 2023?
Yeah, crazy. Yeah.
What year is it?
Yeah, in like 3 hours, it's March now.
No, I'll watch in the morning. If I stay up tonight, it's gonna be playing Destiny.
Yeah, I'd love to, but it's gonna be like 3 a.m. my time, so not gonna do
Yeah,
that.
East Coast problems.
Yeah, right.
Well, everyone
No.
below the top line is on the East Coast. Everyone above it
Yeah.
is Pacific time.
Yeah.
Jason, what's the big video game you're excited for this year?
I am excited, hopefully for Metal Gear. I've been waiting for the remake, and I hope they announce it at E3 this year.
I like how they started off as a rumor, and now outlets are just like, it's happening.
It's happening. Well, it's been rumored for pretty long, and hopefully this year we get some concrete information. I'm really hoping that they remake Snake Eater or one of the first two Metal Gears that were on the MSX. I think those are great stories to be retold, and a lot of people didn't play those MSX originals, not even the NES, version and Snake's Revenge. So I think that's a golden opportunity right there.
But basically, Hideo Kojima left, and they're like, "All right, let's just remake the first game he did. Let's remake all those games that he did."
Yeah. So if Sony gets involved and they try to make it a PlayStation exclusive, I'm not 100 convinced he won't be involved in some sort of like supervising role, a la Twin Snakes for GameCube. So we'll see. If they remake Twin Snakes, that would be awesome. But I think a grounds up remake of either Snake Eater or Metal Gear 1 and 2 is the way to go.
So Stefan's asking, is Bluepoint supposed to be doing the Metal Gear Solid remake? Because that was the big rumor, was that after they did the Dark Souls, Demon Souls, one of the two, they had the Metal Gear cameo in there, and that spurred up a whole bunch of stuff. Mainly because Sony owned that game, and they were allegedly remaking it.
Right.
So we could very well see.
Right, and now they own Bluepoint.
Yeah.
And so, with their working relationship with Hideo, with Death Stranding 1 and 2 being PS exclusives, it's very possible. I know that there's a new game coming out for Xbox that he's working on that's based around, online, always online. So that's something that will pique interest. But, I see the possibility for Bluepoint to be working on Metal Gear Solid remake of sorts is pretty strong, considering the recent Silent Hill presentations that they had revealing all those games. We know that Konami's trying to get back into the great graces.
I can't believe Konami is leaving the pachinko parlor. They're leaving the gambling at home. They're coming back.
Well, here's the thing too.
They did that. It was insane to me still.
They have the Metal Gear Pachinko, and if anybody who has seen, the cutscenes from that, they are amazing. And
No, I'm gonna Google it as soon as we're done. I didn't know that was a thing.
it's a thing, and those cutscenes look amazing.
good
And you
lord.
can easily, rip those cutscenes and just import them into a remake of, Snake Eater.
That's that can't be real.
It's real.
No, that's.
I love
Yeah,
all the major.
just
game
Google Snake Eater
companies.
pachinko.
Oh, I did.
cutscenes
I
and-
did. This
yeah.
is what that
Yeah.
is insane. That's
Yeah.
not okay.
And that was
Konami-
like, I was like almost maybe 6-7 years ago too.
That was
so
2016.
imagine. Okay,
Wow.
so yeah.
Konami, what's
7
wrong
years
with you?
I love how
Konami,
these
damn it.
major companies decided, hey, we're going to ditch consoles and go mobile, and then
No,
No,
everybody said,
not
we're
even
not
that.
playing.
Pachinko is like gambling.
Right.
Like it's Japanese gambling.
Well, like Disney decided they were done because video games were the future on phones, and that hasn't worked. And Konami didn't they cancel Silent Hill to do pachinko?
They
Wasn't that
canceled
the-
Silent
Silent
Hill because
Hills,
they fought
yeah.
with
Kojima.
they had the big falling out with Kojima.
I still have my PT demo.
I had to upgrade my hard drive, and then that PS3 died, and I could never recover. I'm so mad.
I
It's
can
still
show
on
you
a
how
hard
to-
drive, but what?
I can show you how to recover it.
Do it. I want to like.
I'll
Do my
show you
pants
how
stuff.
when the show's over. Maybe we'll do a walkthrough for it.
Yeah, let's do it.
Is Konami making pachinko any different than Disney owning Star Wars? Like I'm listening to everything you dislike about it, and I'm like, isn't that the same thing that we're talking about? They sold out. They used all this cred that they had for this thing that we love that now just corrupts people.
But we are
No.
getting a couple of questions that are pretty fun. I'm going to bring them up real fast just because. First off, this was an older one that I skipped over because I didn't realize it. What are your Justice League fan casts for the DCU? Anyone have any fan casts that they want to see as core Justice League members?
This was kind of a joke, but honestly, I think it might work. Somebody, this is probably like a year ago. Somebody on Twitter fan casted Bruce Campbell as Kingdom Come Superman, and like,
Oh,
and like,
God,
I
that'd be
think
insane.
it's like a cameo or something. I think that might work, and I love Bruce Campbell. I love the Evil Dead, so I just think that would be so great if he like showed up as like Superman. I'm not like the main Superman, obviously, but like I don't know. I think that would be.
No, I'm going to say it right now. Let's fan cast Bruce Campbell as Kingdom Come Shazam.
Oh shoot, that would actually be
That
really
might work.
interesting.
That'd be amazing.
Oh,
While we're doing it, can we get like Samuel L. Jackson as Kingdom Come Black Adam?
You know, Black Adam's not actually black, right?
Yeah.
I've only
Well-
thought about it in this moment, but Dr. Fate was great. I think Dr. Fate needs to come back, but I want him
Mhm.
played by Billy Zane.
I still want
Huh.
Billy Zane to play Lex Luthor in any
Yeah.
capacity.
That would be
I think
pretty
he's
That
too
would
old
be
now,
ideal.
but I think you could put him in a magic hat and he'd be great.
Billy Zane
Well-
as Etrigan the Demon would be fun too, as Jason.
Mm.
Blood.
Huh. Jason Blood.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that would be good. Obviously, we already had the best casting with Henry Cavill and Ben Affleck, and it seems
For
like
real.
Gunn already screwed the pooch on that. But I'll digress
Yeah.
from that rant.
So-
I think the dude from Titans who played Hawk would make a great
Yeah.
Batman.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's the perfect age. He's the perfect
Mhm.
size. He's legit.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Gotta cast him.
Yeah.
He's just
You
been jumping
guys-
around heroes. He started off on Smallville as Aquaman, then became
Yeah.
Hawk from Titans.
Yeah.
Now he's Jack Reacher.
Climbing the ladder.
Mm.
You'll
What
get
would,
there.
what would you think of Jensen Ackles as a live action Batman? He's like
The only
around the
reason
same
why
age.
I
Yeah.
don't think it's possible.
Yeah. He's in his 40s.
Not even that. Like Jensen he's 45. He's only he's a couple years younger than Ben Affleck.
Yeah.
Right. That's what I was thinking. Yeah, because like Ben Affleck started when he was in his 40s in BVS.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So
I mean, what we know is that from what James Gunn said is that the main heroes, Batman and Superman, are going to be probably in their mid-30s.
mhm.
He said Superman's not going to be younger than 25, and he's probably not going to be older than 35, so somewhere in that 10 years. And he said that Batman's probably going to be just a couple years older than Superman, and that's it.
Mhm.
So
Okay.
So my pitch is, what if we brought Henry Cavill back as Batman because he's 30?
Oh my god.
And then we get that. You remember that guy that everyone was freaking out about a few years ago from Netflix as The Politician? Everyone thought he kind of looked like Henry Cavill. Let's make him Superman.
Oh yeah.
And just if anybody that looks like Henry Cavill just plays a role, it's the being John Malkovich of superheroes. And
Oh, it'd be funny.
I think it would be funny if you did that guy as Superman, and then you had Henry Cavill play Jor-El, and you could be like, oh, I can see the family resemblance.
That'd be fun, yeah.
I saw where the guy that played Kal-El in Man of Steel, like the young one, is now campaigning to be Superman. I wouldn't mind that either.
Oh, yeah, that guy, yeah.
Man of Steel, young Clark, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kal-El was a baby, and he's probably still like 10.
Speaking of young babies, hi Jay Stu, welcome to the stream.
I'm not that young.
No, I'm pretty sure, like, of the 8 of us, you're on the half that's older than the other half.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll be 33 on the 9th.
Okay.
Happy birthday.
Yeah.
Happy birthday.
I think we could probably organize this slide by age now. We could put
Honestly, yeah.
you here, you there. Think of that.
Yeah.
Probably that. Is that I'm going to play Price is Right with our ages. And kind of saying, am I right? Am I right?
I'm betting I'm the youngest one here.
I think Grant is the youngest. Too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
Grant,
you
you
were
were
about
born
my
during
age, Luke,
Obama,
right?
correct?
Yeah, I'm kidding.
I'm 20.
Oh, well, you're younger than I am.
Yeah, I think me and Luke are both 24.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just turned 24 last month.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll be 20 soon. Yeah.
Nice.
I remember Bush.
I was born during the first Bush. So,
Oh, nice.
Taylor goes, which one?
I remember both of them.
but I don't remember. I don't remember the first one.
So the next questions that popped up.
Is it about
Culture-
President Bush?
I hope so.
What Gundam games that remastered could you like to see from the PS2? Gundam PS2 was kind of a weird time, but I remember there was a handful of games that I did like Encounters in Space was a lot of fun. I really would like them to bring back the Battle Assault games because Michael and I played Gundam Battle Assault a lot.
Reading my mind, just remake it, new Gundams, get the Mars Gundam in there, get the new Aerial Gundam in there, get like what Char's got like 5 Gundams attached to his name, get them all in a game and let me put quarters into a machine.
Yeah. So yeah, short answer, any of the Battle Assault games 100% should get remade. I want them to also remaster all of the Dynasty Warrior Gundam games and put them on modern consoles because those are just a lot of fun.
Yeah, definitely. I actually have a game that's not a Gundam game that I would want remastered from PS2, and I actually have it sitting on my desk right now. Let me pull it out real quick.
Is it Onimusha?
No, it's this little low key game right here. Robotech.
Oh, that I
Banzai.
remember. I
This
remember
game
that game.
is badass. It's so underrated, and this deserves a remaster or remake for sure.
Was that you, Michael, who had that, or who was it?
It's
One
on
of our
GameCube
friends.
also, and I think Xbox.
Chad had it, but I borrowed it. I played it a whole bunch.
That's right.
A fabulous game. You know what's
Yes.
funny is I feel like the spiritual successor is those good Transformers games.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Because the
Yeah.
fluid, the combat was very fluid, but like those Transformers games, anytime I pick them up and play, it's always like, yeah, I got to be a car, and then I was a guy, and then I was like some gun thing in between. It was like that game did that very well.
Definitely. So yeah.
So, question popped up. What does everyone think of Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League State of Play? He's saying that the game looks dead on arrival, like Marvel's Avengers or Gotham Knights. I don't think it looks dead on arrival. Jason and I talked about it. I watched the State of Play. To me, it looked like a fun mix-up between Arkham Knight and the Infamous games.
right.
More so than what we got with Gotham Knights or Marvel's Avengers.
Mhm.
And Marvel's Avengers' biggest issue was not so much the always online feature, but the always matchmaking feature. That's what
Mhm.
really killed it. because if you didn't have anyone matchmaking, the game just didn't really work for you.
Right.
I played the game. I did enjoy it to a certain extent, but to me, it also reminded me that Marvel's popularity is not with these characters; it's with the actors playing the characters. So if you try to emulate those versions, it doesn't work. So either you have to do 100% original, or you have to do a straight up licensing game, because most MCU fans don't read the comics; they watch the movies. So they'll be like, "Oh, why does my Spider-Man not look like Tom Holland?" And then they'll get mad.
Which is one of the things James Gunn said, that these people, you're the character, and they're going to be in games. And I don't know what that game is going to be. Like, it could be an Injustice 3, right? It could be something like that. Maybe we see some versions of it, right, to get these people a paycheck. But I think if it's a game, it's all going to be within the universe. And fans are going to really like that the video game. I mean, it's like those Matrix games. People like that you got to play as the person in the movie. And that's kind of a big deal. It felt the same.
I have fond memories of that Matrix game, the Enter the Matrix, because it was actually canon to the movies. And if you played the game, it made sense with the movie. But it was also an idea that was way ahead of its time and has not been done since because it was so controversial.
It's hard to do a tie-in game.
The game had weird mechanics too. Like the game was
Very
difficult.
weird
So
I personally think that just because Rocksteady's making Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, it's going to have a saving grace that the others that you compared it with don't have. The world is going to be massive. It's going to be fleshed out. The gameplay is going to be fun. Yeah, there's going to be a battle pass, but they already said the battle pass is 100% cosmetics. So if you don't want to change your skins, you don't have to.
is there a sandbox where I can just go around and hit civilians with hammers and then the stars go up? Is it like Grand Theft Auto? Is it like that?
Grand Theft Auto.
Probably get a Grand Theft Auto mod. Yeah.
That's what I was gonna say. We can just mod your GTA.
Next question. I'm looking through. There's just 30 Battle Cry. Oh, they're all just talking about that game. So yeah, if anyone have any other questions, anybody have any other questions before we wrap up? We're already a little bit past an hour, but we love the discussions. We want you guys to get to know us. So feel free to.
We actually didn't hear from Jay Stu. He came in very late.
That's
Don't
correct.
forget Jay Stu.
Yeah, let's bring you up. Tell us about yourself, Jay Stu. Hi, Jason.
Well, obviously, I'm Jay Stu. I am the host of TCN Rundowns, which is a weekly show that just goes through the biggest nerd news of the past week. I'm having a lot of fun doing it. Really having fun engaging with the comments when people comment. So, it's been really fun trying to get my video editing skills up and really establish the show as a brand. And I'm really happy to be part of the Culture Nerd Network. It's been a blast so far, and I'm definitely looking forward to continuing that. And if you guys have any suggestions for the show, please feel free to drop them in the comments. I'd love to hear some feedback.
Yeah, I mean, the show is getting good numbers, and I'm not seeing any negative likes, so no one's commenting, so it must be good. I mean, they're like, okay, I'm for this, and they're just accepting it. Like, you're getting the likes, you're getting the views, you're not getting any hate, so
Nice.
that's always good.
Good.
What was the last? What keeps you've been reporting on all this stuff? You're rounding it all up. What's sticking in your mind still?
What do you mean what's sticking in my mind still? Like as far as like the news, or
You can go news. We can talk UFOs. What's the thing that stands out above them all? What was the thing that got you the most hype this week?
oh, this week? I mean, it's only Tuesday, so not a whole lot has happened. I would have to go back and look at my saves from the group chat. But last week, the big thing last week, at least for me, was the Welcome to Derry. I was very excited.
Yeah.
That's exciting.
Oh
I feel like I'm always defending it and Pennywise, especially It Chapter 2. It's not as good as the first one, but I love It Chapter 2. I
Yeah.
legit think that's a good movie.
The cast is great.
Oh yeah.
in the movie.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, they're awesome.
You
So,
missed
yeah,
our,
I'm definitely excited for Welcome to Derry. Stephen King is one of my favorite authors of all time.
Yeah.
He's a horror master, and Andy Muschietti completely gets gets it.
Yeah.
So I'm
Yeah.
definitely looking forward to it.
We were talking Stephen King earlier. What's your favorite Stephen King book?
It.
There it is again.
Close second is The Langoliers.
Really?
Oh, that's interesting. Interesting.
I'm a Dark Tower guy, so all of your other stories feed into my one mega story, and there's all these branching paths. So eventually, I'll read about your adventure. But
See, that's like
Roland's there.
that's like saying your favorite Marvel movie is Avengers: Infinity War, which is valid, but there's so much other stuff to lead up to that.
I mean, I get my
Dark Tower
I
is
love,
the Infinity War of Stephen King novels.
I did love the Dark Tower. Like, I love the whole gunslinger. It's such a cool premise, such a cool concept.
Yeah.
A
So I
supernatural
don't
horror western.
Yeah, it's so weird, but I love it. The movie had lots of promise and it didn't fulfill it. And I was really bummed out because visually there were some really cool moments in that movie. It just didn't. It was very myopic for what they were trying to do.
It's a wonderful garbage movie. Like, you can see what they were doing, but it's so bad. It's so bad so quickly, and you're like, man, they tricked Idris Elba into being in this movie. Like,
I think the only Stephen King book I still have is Thinner.
Oh.
Which is not talked about a lot. Yeah.
It's underrated. That's a good
underrated ones. Yeah. Yeah.
I was gonna say that that Dark Tower reminds me of a movie we just reviewed, Cowboys and Aliens. It's one of those where you're like, how the heck did they trick the cast?
I got to revisit Cowboys and Aliens.
No, you
You can all hate on it you want, but I enjoyed it.
I remember not liking it, but I mean, it's been like 10 years since I've seen the movie. Longer than that, like 12 years.
See, I watched it like 2 weeks ago and decided it'd be easier to pull my fingernails out than watch it again. It hurt.
I don't remember it being that bad.
Bruh.
It was
more for our thoughts. Go check out our episode last week. On
Yeah, right.
Yes.
Sorry, Taylor.
Taylor's not happy. Yeah.
Anyways, but I think on that note, we don't have any more questions. So we've had some fun here, guys. It's been an hour and 15 minutes ish. So, any y'all have any questions for us? Throw them in the comments after this video, and I'll ask the crew, and I'll bring up the answers for you. So, thank you all for joining us for this week. We will go through and talk about what's next for the Through the Monocle guys. The Grants, what do you got coming on tomorrow?
We are talking about The Office. So specifically, I believe we're doing the dinner party episode, the one where Michael leaves, and the finale. And we're just going to talk about, its influence on pop culture and how it kind of happened. And then specifically, if we think the show is good based on those 3 episodes.
Spoiler, yes.
No, The Office sucks, everybody. The
worst.
Yeah.
It's like a C or D tier. It's not great.
It's being generous.
Yeah, that's part of our cycle for this month. So to plug, we are talking mockumentaries, and we're kicking off The Office.
All right, and then on Thursday, Jason, what do you got going?
Well, we're going to be talking some video game news. We're going to talk about breaking news. I don't have the show written yet, so I can't really tell you what we're going to talk about. But
any big news that you want to talk about right now? That you want to maybe hint at?
We might talk about a little bit about Windows 98 running on Xbox Series X and S. We might mention that a little bit. I got a new Xena Canary build that has an actual UI front end, so the compatibility is a little bit higher. We may talk about that real quick. So some gaming news, some breaking news. We'll find out more as we get there.
And then lastly, for the Culture Pro List, Mike, Luke, what do you guys are talking about? Second half of All-Star Superman, right?
Yep. Yeah. Second half of All-Star Superman. What were
So
you
with
gonna
the
say?
second half, recap that and also talk about the comparisons with the movie, since you don't have
Yes.
your first half was longer than the second half. So once you wrap up that
Mhm.
second, there's
Yes.
some deviations, but they're good.
Definitely, yeah. We'll talk about that and just kind of talk about the whole, book as a whole, because it's kind of fun. Like we talk about the first half and the second, but then once we do the second, we have like the context of the whole book, and it kind of informs more like what we're thinking about it as a whole. So yeah,
Yeah,
be
and
fun.
overall, we're kind of just going through the ones that James Gunn announced. So we're going to do the Grant Morrison Batman and then Paradise Lost, and we're just going to kind of move through all of those.
Mhm.
So yeah,
And that's good because they're all sold out everywhere. So the fact
Yeah.
that you guys can review them for people is
exactly,
fantastic.
exactly.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for joining us. If you want to support us and help us do what we do, head over to the Patreon. Every show has its own tier. So if you want to support any one of the guys, grab their tier, support it there, and everything goes straight to them. I've been your host. My co-host is always every week Michael Santel, and you have met the entire crew from Luke, the Grants, other Michael, Jason, and Jay Stu. Thank you all for joining us. Scan that QR code. Check out us on all the socials and all the platforms, and we will see you all next week. Or actually, we'll see you all tomorrow on our shows. So you have shows the remainder of every day this week, and then we may actually drop another one up by the weekend just to give you something else for this week. But thank you all for joining us. We'll see you then.